So today we're going to be talking about IPsec on MCRs. It's a recent announcement that Megaport made that we just added this new feature to our MCRs. So somewhat of an informal conversation. I only have one slide to show. We're going to kind of jump into the portal, just kind of walk around our docs page a little bit, and just tell you what we can do with IPsec now with that addition to MCRs. So first of all, just to give you a high level, what is an MCR? So this is what we call Megaport Cloud Router. We always refer to it as MCR because we love acronyms. And so you could see here the MCR is basically a simple, I should say simple, but it's a highly capable, but simple to turn up router that spun up in a virtual environment. So it spins up on Megaport compute space at many of our data centers around the globe. And you could set this up. Really, the way we've productized this is based on throughput capability. So kind of as small as 1 gig all the way up to 100 gig throughput capable. And it comes with many router features you would expect, dynamic routing capabilities, the ability to do some route filtering. So you can do some traffic engineering on there, IAS prepending, those kinds of things. You can also configure NAT on the device, which is useful in a couple of use cases. Obviously external interfaces, maybe you're doing a NAT gateway to a cloud provider to offload that workload off your cloud provider, maybe save a little money on that using NAT on a Megaport cloud router. So IPsec, again, a new feature we've added. And so we'll let me get out of presentation mode. And let me just show you real quick what I've set up in the portal. So this is the Megaport portal. You can see my dashboard here. I get a global view of all the services I have set up. This is a demo account, so you're going to see a whole bunch of services in here. I do have it filtered down to just what we're talking about today, which is the cloud router here at the top. And the way we've kind of organized this in the portal is you're going to have the physical or the access device, I shouldn't say physical, virtual router in this case, device at the top, and then your interfaces down below. So these are going to be VLANs or sub interfaces on the router. And in this case, I just have 3 simple, interfaces set up. The MCR does support up to 25 interfaces. So you could have 25 in the drop down here. And this would connect you to, various cloud providers. I have currently set up a connection to AWS and GCP, but we can connect to 4 or 5, 6 different cloud providers if you needed to, SaaS providers, marketplace partners, and of course internet, right? And this comes into play when we're talking about IPsec. One of the biggest use cases is edge access, or how to connect a remote site to this device and then get to wherever you need to go. So the setup I have currently is an internet circuit, direct connect to AWS. So this is a private connection into AWS, and then a partner interconnect into Google Cloud. And so that's a private connection into Google, of course. The MCR I've set up at 5 gig, and each one of my connections I have at 1 gig. Of course, the nice thing about Megaport is I can come in here and change the bandwidth if I need to, right? So I can come in here and I can change this to 1 gig if I needed to. And it will just tell me to save it, and I'm going to accept the new charges for the additional bandwidth, and then I'll be ready to go. That's nice. Okay. So what I've done here is just kind of an existing setup. And what I want to do is go ahead and add the IPsec capabilities. So I'm going to go to the MCR first. And I'm going to add IPsec to this MCR. And you can see we have the little new logo there. And we'll hit add. And you'll notice there is a small fee for it. It's $100 USD a month. This gives you the capability to create 10 IPsec tunnels. So I'll confirm that. And we'll just make sure that looks good. IPsec has been added. And you can see I can create 10 tunnels. And I'll go ahead and close this out. Okay, so I've added that to the MCR, and now I might want to build my tunnels. And let me just show you a real quick drawing. So this is what it might look like, right? So I have 2 clouds set up on my account. I've actually set up a connection to AWS and GCP, but this diagram is showing Azure, of course. And this is showing you just, some of the use cases that you could have. So one of them is secure branch access. So I have a branch over here. I can create a tunnel to the MCR, of course. And in this drawing, I have 3 edge sites. So I would have 3 tunnels coming into that public interface. And it's also showing I have IPsec set up into the cloud. So there's a VPN gateway out here and a transit gateway over here. And you might say, well, this is private connection. So is this even required? And the answer is no, it's not required. You could just use the private connection as it's intended. But some organizations do require any data that's transmitted across the network is encrypted. So in that case, you could also set up an encrypted tunnel between the MCR to Azure or to GCP or whoever it is over that private connections. And then you would meet that requirement of end-to-end encryption. So some of the other use cases. So we talked about the branch connectivity, encrypting over private connectivity. So that would be this side of the drawing. And then DR or remote access for DR. So think of this as like a backup, right? So you have maybe a private connection between your data center and the cloud across a particular provider, maybe Megaport, and you want to set up a backup connection across the internet. And you might say, well, can I just set up an IPsec tunnel directly to the cloud provider? And of course, you could do that. But the nice thing about the cloud router is it's multi-cloud. So I could set up one tunnel to an MCR, and that tunnel could then, or that MCR then could connect to multiple cloud providers, and I could service that backup requirement with a single tunnel rather than multiple tunnels. Okay, so let me go hop back into, if I can find my place, there we go. All right, so I'm gonna go to this internet interface and just kind of show you the controls now of building that out. So I'm going to look at, this is looking at kind of the router interface, right? So you're going to see IP addresses. I turned up this internet circuit a couple of hours ago, but typically it only takes a few minutes to spin up a new internet circuit. You're going to get a public IP address that it gets assigned to the interface. And you'll notice there is an IPv4 and IPv6 set up in a dual stack. So you'll have that capability. And then you also notice that this is now set up as a NAT. Obviously, the other interfaces are private IP'd. So this is going to be your public interface set up as a NAT interface. And that's about it right here. But you'll notice now my controls up here. So this is where I can add my IPsec tunnel. One thing you'll notice right when I did that is it starts adding tabs. And the reason why is because I obviously might, in this case, I just want to connect a single edge location, but I might want to add multiple, right? So I can continue to add IPsec tunnels as needed, up to 10 for that initial package. All right, so my source IP, this is going to be the IP address on the router itself, so the interface address. So if I'm setting up IPv4 tunnel, I can use that address. And then this would be the destination IP. So whatever public IP that you have assigned on the edge of your network, you could put that in here. Don't use this IP address. That's actually a Google DNS router, but you get the idea. And then you would put in whatever your password is for that pre-shared key. I'm going to just point you to some documentation when we're done, but it's important to understand like what ciphers we support and stuff like that. So we could kind of point you in that direction when we're done here, so you don't get into too much trouble as far as interfacing with this cloud router. Okay, so that's basically it. So I've set up my interface. I'll go ahead and save that configuration. And of course, when I configure the other end of the network, then I will have that next interface available to me. So if I go back here to A end, all right. Load. Okay. All right. So then just coming over here, like I mentioned, I'll go into the documentation. And this is important site. So docs.megaport.com. If everything Megaport, it's very, very helpful. If you go into here, you'll notice the MCR right here, and you'll notice using IPsec with MCR. And so this is a very important, like I mentioned, to understand specifically what ciphers we support. So you could see the particular encryption types and integrity and the key exchange that are all identified here. Important information about IP MTU settings, making sure that your MTU size isn't too large or whatever that you're using across here. You can change on the MCR, you can adjust the MTU size on those interfaces. So make sure you do that to support whatever protocol you're using. The other thing I'll point out, and this is just screenshots of what we went through in the demo, but you could see some other helpful hints here. So configuring the MCR. That diagram I showed you is also here at the bottom, this IPsec solution. So that'll get you into kind of this use case, some drawings. If you want to share that with anyone, you can have that there. And then the other kind of helpful thing is this overhead calculator. So in figuring out your MTU size, this is a helpful calculator that you could go ahead and use. It's not created by Megaport, but it's something we linked here to help you figure out the MTU size needed. Okay, and that is it for today. So that was adding, oh, one more thing I just want to point out. So if you want to know where we have Megaport Cloud Router enabled, if you go to megaport.com and click on data centers, it'll get you to this data center list, and you could sort by MCR enabled facilities. And then you can drill into specific regions, right? So if I wanted to deploy in US East, I might click here and I could see I have four in this particular area. And so I could see where I could deploy those cloud routers. Okay, so that's pretty helpful as well. That's it for today. So I don't see any questions in the chat. So I think that's a wrap. Thanks for joining us on this version of Tech Drop-In. Check back with us every Friday. We try to do these, so just kind of informal, let you know what's going on at Megaport. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.